They say money buys anything in this city. Comfort, power, silence, you name it. But turns out, it also buys secrets. The kind that really get under your skin and just stay there. My name's Kunle. I used to drive for a man who, let's just say, had more money than God and probably more secrets than all the midnight alleys in this city combined. He had one rule for me. Just one. Kunle, he'd said. After midnight, whatever you do, never look in the car's rearview mirror. Man, I wish I'd never found out why. This sprawling metropolis. That's my city. It's got this pulse, you know? A heartbeat you can feel right through the soles of your feet. I grew up in Mushin, and life there? It was a vibrant, chaotic dance. Always something happening. My mother, Mama Titi. What a woman. A market trader. Her laugh was as loud as her colorful Ankara wrappers and the clack of her coral beads. She always used to tell me, Kunle, Omomi, your destiny is bright, but remember, even the brightest day casts a shadow. Be wise. Her words, they were like my compass. Back then, I was just a young guy trying to find my way. My biggest worry? How to pay for Mama Titi's new medication, or get that leaky roof fixed. Then this job offer landed in my lap. Driver to Chief Adeyemi. Just saying his name. It was like a legend, you know? Whispered in awe. Billionaire, influential, very traditional. My neighborhood even threw a small party. Kunle has entered. They all cheered. You'll be swimming in Naira. And man, I felt this rush of hope. This was it. My big chance to give Mama Titi the kind of life she truly deserved. Chief Adeyemi's mansion? It was a whole other world compared to Mushin. Looming behind these huge black gates, guarded not just by men, but by these towering wooden statues of Yoruba gods. Sango with his double-headed axe, Ogun looking fierce and tough, their eyes painted this stark, watchful red. Inside the compound, the air was heavy, thick. You could smell burning incense, old leather, and something else. Something I just couldn't put my finger on. The main housekeeper was this stern, older woman, Auntie Ronk. Always in her traditional iro and buba, her gelly tied just so, heavy ivory bangles on her wrists. She moved like a shadow, that one. No smiles, just these curt nods and a look that screamed she knew way more than she'd ever let on. One time, she even muttered as I walked by, "This house has its ways, young man. You best learn them quickly." That first night, Chief Adeyemi called me to his study. Dim room, packed with antique books and more of those carved artifacts. He was sitting behind this massive mahogany desk, a really imposing figure in his pristine white agbada, all embroidered with gold thread. His walking stick, the one with a lion's head carved from dark wood, was right beside him, and his eyes sharp, piercing, like he was looking right through me. Kunle. His voice was deep, really deep, like distant thunder rolling in. You'll be my driver. You take me where I need to go. No questions asked. You'll see a lot. You'll hear a lot. But there's one thing, one very specific instruction you must obey. No excuses. He leaned forward then, his gaze totally fixed on me. After the clock hits midnight, when you're driving me, you are never to look in the car's rearview mirror. Doesn't matter what you think you see, what you hear, or what you feel. Your eyes stay on that road ahead. Understand? A shiver went straight down my spine. Such a strange thing to ask, so specific. Yes, sir. I managed to croak out, my throat suddenly bone dry. I understand. He just nodded slowly, and there was this flicker of something in his eyes I couldn't read. Then, he pushed a small, worn leather pouch across the desk. It was surprisingly heavy. "Keep this with you," he said. "Always when you drive for me. It's for your protection." Protection from what? Man, I wanted to ask so badly, but the way his jaw tensed up, I knew that question wasn't welcome. Those first few weeks? definitely an adjustment. The car, this gleaming black Mercedes, was a beast, so silent and smooth. A total world away from the sputtering Danfo buses I was used to. Let me tell you, Chief Adeyemi, he was mostly quiet during our drives. Sometimes he'd take calls in hushed Yoruba. Other times he'd just stare out the window. That carved staff of his held tight in his lap. Auntie Ronk, she'd sometimes hand me a small, sealed calabash of water before a late-night run, and her eyes, they'd linger on me just a second too long, like a silent warning. Most of our first trips were to these fancy events. You know, the kind of places I'd only ever seen from the outside. Government houses, exclusive clubs, compounds of other rich chiefs. During those drives, the rearview mirror just showed the chief, looking all stoic and imposing in the back seat. But that rule, it was always there, in the back of my mind, like this little seed of unease. Why that rule? What on earth could happen in a mirror after midnight that he'd forbid me so strictly from looking? My curiosity, it really started to eat at me. Sometimes, late at night, I'd catch this faint smell in the car. Not the chief's expensive cologne or the leather seats, but something wilder, primal even, like damp earth after a hard rain, or that metallic tang in the air before a big storm. And that protective pouch he gave me, the one I kept tucked in my breast pocket, sometimes it'd get warm, like a gentle hum against my chest. And then came that night. It started off like any other late run. I had on my best shirt, the blue striped one Mama Titi starched for me, and my old red cap. She always said it was good luck. Chief Adeyemi, he was in this incredibly ornate agbada, the gold threads glinting in the dim light. He was even quieter than usual, and his presence just filled the car with this thick tension. As we drove through the city, the streets felt familiar, but also strange, kind of alien. That growing dread was back. And the city noise, the horns, the music, the vendors yelling, it all seemed to just fade away, replaced by this weird, unnatural quiet. The dashboard clock ticked. Midnight. And just like that, the whole vibe in the car changed. It wasn't just me, I swear. The temperature plummeted. This sudden, clammy cold that had zero to do with the AC. I could feel the hairs on my arms stand up. My palms, gripping that smooth leather steering wheel, started to sweat like crazy. Then I heard it. A whisper. So soft, like dry leaves blowing across concrete. It sounded like it was coming from right behind me. From the back seat. Kunle, my blood just turned to ice. That wasn't the chief's voice. This was something else. Feminine, kind of, but all twisted and ghostly. I gripped the wheel tighter, my knuckles probably white. My eyes shot to the rear view mirror, almost on instinct, but then I remembered Chief's warning. Don't look, no matter what. The whispering kept going, closer now, like someone, or something, was leaning right over my shoulder. It wasn't saying my name anymore, just murmuring these words I couldn't understand. This hissing stream of sounds that made my teeth ache. The air got thick, heavy with this sickly sweet smell. Damp earth, yeah, but also that sharp, bitter smell of burning palm oil. The kind of smell from old shrines. The rituals Mama Titi always told me to steer clear of. My heart was pounding like a trapped bird. I could see shadows dancing, right at the edge of the rearview mirror. Dark shapes just flickering out of sight. Were they reflections from outside? Or were they inside? My breath caught in my throat. Every single instinct I had was screaming at me to look, to figure out what was making those terrifying sounds, what this chilling presence was. Was Chief Adeyemi okay? Was he even still him? The car felt like it was pushing through water, and the silence outside just made everything inside seem louder, more horrible. I just stared at the road, at those yellow lines stretching out into what looked like a giant dark mouth. That pouch in my pocket? It was seriously hot now. This small, fierce warmth pushing back against the icy fear that had me in its grip. I fumbled for it, my fingers finally closing around the worn leather, and the whispers, they seemed to pull back just a tiny bit. We were heading for the old part of the city, all narrow, winding streets between these ancient buildings. Their walls had these faded Yoruba symbols and carvings that looked like they were watching us go by. This definitely wasn't one of our usual routes to some fancy party. This felt different, like we were going deeper into the city's hidden heart. Finally, after what felt like forever, Chief Adeyemi's voice, so calm and steady, just cut right through that awful atmosphere. "Stop here, Kunle." I pulled over, my hands shaking so bad I could barely get the car into park. We were on this dark, empty street, a crumbling old colonial building on one side, and the inky black lagoon on the other. The second the chief spoke, those weird sounds stopped. The horrible cold even eased up a bit. He leaned forward, and in the dim light inside the car, I saw his eyes. They weren't the sharp, assessing eyes of my boss. These were ancient, so deep, like they held some kind of knowledge that just chilled me to the bone. "Kunle," he said, his voice this low rumble that seemed to make the whole car vibrate. "You did well tonight. Not every man can follow simple instructions when fear's whispering in his ear." He paused, and this thin smile touched his lips, a smile with absolutely no warmth in it. "But tonight was just an introduction, a test of your nerve." He opened his door, and the dome light through these quick, eerie shadows around. "Tomorrow, and the nights after that, you're going to see things that would make even the bravest men in this city run. Things that have always been here, hidden just under the skin of this metropolis. Remember your promise, and keep that pouch close." And just like that, he stepped out. His white agbada seemed to almost glow in the dark before he just melted into the shadows of some unlit alley. He left me there, completely alone, driver's door still open, the smell of incense and damp earth hanging in the air. I just sat there for ages, engine idling, the only sound in this sudden, heavy silence. My heart was still hammering away, a wild drum against the distant hum of the city. Fear was like this living thing inside me, cold and sharp. What on earth had been in that car with us? Or, even scarier, what had Chief Adeyemi become back there? I finally reached up, my fingers trembling, and touched the rearview mirror. It was just a mirror again, showing the empty back seat, the dark street behind us. But it felt tainted, like a doorway to something I just couldn't wrap my head around. I clutched that leather pouch in my hand, still warm, a comforting weight. What kind of power did this little thing hold? And what exactly was it supposed to protect me from? That drive back to the chief's mansion was the longest of my entire life. Every shadow seemed to jump out at me. Every rustle of leaves sounded like those awful whispers again. The city I knew, the vibrant, familiar place, it felt like someone had peeled back a layer, showing this darker, more ancient city underneath. A city that the chief moved through like it was nothing. Sleep? No way I was sleeping that night. How could I? Chief Adeyemi's words kept replaying in my head. Tonight was just the beginning. That one rule, never look in the mirror after midnight. It had thrown me headfirst into a world I never even knew was out there. A world of shadows and whispers, hidden right under our noses in the middle of my bustling city. Mama Titi was so right. Even the brightest day casts a shadow, and boy, was I driving straight into the deep end of it. This metropolis, my metropolis. It wasn't just a place of hustle and laughter anymore. Now, it was a place of secrets, ancient and powerful ones. And somehow me, Kunle, the kid from Mushin, I was now tangled up with one of its oldest, most terrifying parts. I never imagined money could buy you into stuff like this. That behind all those shiny rich people houses, there was a link to a whole other world. And I was just the driver. So, what terrors were waiting for me on the nights to come? And what would happen if my curiosity finally really got the better of me. If you want to find out what I eventually saw in that rearview mirror, and what it cost me to take that forbidden look, you better subscribe and hit that notification bell. You seriously won't believe the secrets this city and its mysterious billionaire were hiding. And hey, let me know in the comments. Ever had something happen to you that you just can't explain? Something that made you question everything? Because trust me, some doors, once you open them, they don't ever really close.